The founder. The founder didn't take a job. They built a world from nothing and refused to leave it. This is the person who had the original idea, the obsession, the vision that nobody else could see yet. They didn't inherit a company, they invented it. And because they invented it, they are often incapable of treating it like just a business. It's personal. It's identity. Every decision is filtered through a single question. Does this match what I imagined? The founder's greatest strength is conviction. They will push further, risk more, and endure longer than any hired executive ever would, because it's theirs. Steve Jobs is the textbook case. When Apple fired him in 1985, the company slowly drifted. When they brought him back in 1997, he cut 70% of Apple's product line on arrival. Not because consultants told him to, because he knew what Apple was supposed to be, and everything else was noise. He was building the company in his head before he was ever running it on paper. Elon Musk at Tesla is the same energy. He wasn't the original founder, technically, but he muscled his way into that title and has run it like a man with something to prove. He sleeps on factory floors during production crunches. He personally responds to customer complaints on social media at 2 a.m. At some point, this is obsession more than management. But it's a big part of what makes founders so famous, or infamous. The founder's weakness is the same as their strength. They can't let go. They see any deviation from the vision as betrayal. Companies sometimes need to evolve beyond what the founder imagined, and the founder will fight that evolution to the death. The fixer. The fixer is called in when things are broken, not slightly off. Broken. The kind of broken where the board is panicking, the press is circling, and morale is somewhere on the floor. Their job isn't to build something beautiful. Their job is to stop the bleeding, fast. The fixer comes from outside. They have no loyalty to how things were done before, no sentimental attachment to the culture, the legacy hires, or the systems that failed. They walk in like a surgeon, detached, clinical, and decisive. Ford's Alan Mulally is the defining example. He arrived in 2006 from Boeing, when Ford was hemorrhaging billions and lurching toward bankruptcy. He didn't know the car industry, but it didn't matter. He mortgaged Ford's assets, overhauled operations, and crucially, created a culture where executives had to actually admit when things were going wrong, something Ford's old guard had refused to do. By 2009, while GM and Chrysler took government bailouts, Ford survived on its own. Lou Gerstner at IBM in 1993 is another one. IBM was days away from being broken apart and sold for scrap. Gerstner came in from the food industry, of all places. His first move was telling the board there would be no grand vision statement, no brand reinvention, just triage. He focused on what IBM did well, sold off the rest, and rebuilt it around services. Nobody expected it to work, but it did. The fixer's weakness is that they can break things that didn't need fixing. Moving fast means sometimes you cut the wrong people, kill the wrong programs, and damage something that was quietly working. And once the fire is out, the fixer often has no idea what to do next. The maintainer. If the fixer is a surgeon, the maintainer is a caretaker. Their job is to not ruin what someone else built. The maintainer is brought in when a company is healthy and the board's nightmare isn't failure, but rather disruption. Don't experiment, don't pivot, don't reinvent, just keep the machine running. Satya Nadella's early years at Microsoft carry some of this energy. Microsoft in 2014 wasn't dying. It was stable but directionless after the Ballmer era. Nadella didn't blow it up. He steadied it, refocused the culture, and let the existing strengths, cloud and enterprise software, do the heavy lifting. He evolved carefully rather than revolutionizing overnight. The danger for the maintainer is complacency becoming strategy. You can maintain so well that you maintain your way right past the moment where change was necessary. Kodak had excellent maintainer energy all the way through the death of film. The operator. The operator doesn't care about vision or brand or culture retreats in Sedona. They care about numbers. Specifically, why this number isn't bigger and what process change fixes that. Execution is the religion. Efficiency is the scripture. Data is the only thing that gets a seat at the table. Look at Tim Cook. When Steve Jobs ran Apple, Cook ran the supply chain. He is famous for once saying that inventory is fundamentally evil. He treats logistical inefficiency the way most people treat a personal insult. When he became CEO after Jobs died, he didn't pretend to be a visionary. He made Apple the most profitable company on earth by squeezing every margin, optimizing every supply chain, and running the machine Jobs built with extraordinary discipline. Mary Barra at General Motors operates the same way. She came up through engineering and manufacturing. When she took over, she cut GM's model lineup, closed underperforming plants, and redirected billions toward electric vehicles not as a brand statement, but as a calculated bet backed by projections. She doesn't care about fame. Her focus is on spreadsheets. The operator's blind spot is the thing you can't put in a spreadsheet. Culture. Morale. The intangible reason people stay loyal to a company even when a competitor pays more. Operators sometimes optimize the soul right out of an organization. The lifer. The lifer started at the bottom and never left. They worked every floor of the building before they reached the top one. They know where the bodies are buried. They speak the language of the company without translation. They have relationships 3 layers deep across every department. Bob Iger started at Disney as a studio supervisor in 1974 and climbed for decades before becoming CEO in 2005. When he arrived at the top, he understood what Disney was emotionally, culturally, and operationally because he had lived inside all of it. That understanding is what let him make the calls to acquire Pixar, Marvel, and Lucasfilm without destroying what Disney already was. The lifer's weakness is that they can be too much of an insider, too attached to how it's always been done. The company's blind spots become their blind spots because they were shaped by the same culture that created them. The performer. The performer has figured something out that the other types mostly ignore. In the modern economy, attention is currency, and they are very good at generating attention. This is the CEO, who is constantly on podcasts, constantly on CNBC, constantly posting, constantly pitching. Their personal brand and the company's brand have merged into one product, and they are selling it everywhere, always. Richard Branson built Virgin into a global empire that spans airlines, music, and space tourism, largely on the back of his own personality. He kite-surfed with a naked woman on his back to promote a new route. He dressed as a flight attendant after losing a bet to another airline's CEO. He made risk and spectacle part of the corporate identity because he understood that in a crowded market, the brand people remember is the one attached to a face they find intriguing. Mark Cuban owned the Dallas Mavericks and sat courtside every single game, arguing with referees, getting fined by the league repeatedly, and generating headlines constantly. Every headline was free marketing. The performer's danger is obvious. If the spectacle becomes more important than the substance, the whole thing risks collapse. The camera loves a performer, but earnings calls are less forgiving. Every company gets the CEO it deserves, or the one it's desperate enough to accept. The founder burns brightest and longest. The fixer saves the wreckage. The maintainer holds the line. The operator squeezes every drop of efficiency from the machine. The lifer knows where every body is buried. The performer makes sure everyone's watching. Most leaders are a blend. The best ones know which type the moment demands and shift accordingly. A founder who learns to operate. A fixer who becomes a builder. A performer who develops real substance behind the spectacle. These are the rare ones. The ones who don't just fit a category, they transcend it. The worst ones never figure out what they actually are. They mistake stubbornness for conviction, caution for wisdom, and visibility for impact. Every era of a company's life requires something different from the person at the top. The question was never just who's the best CEO. It's who's the right one, right now. Getting that decision right can reap boundless rewards. Getting it wrong can mean the end of an entire company.